Welcome to today's episode of UndocuStartup Weekly, where I share the biggest lessons that I've been learning building the #1 entrepreneurship program for undocumented students. If you want to learn more about my programs and you're an Undocu student ally on your campus, I want to bring you to your campus, visit www.undocuStartup.com. Again, that is www.undocuStartup.com. Now, today we're going to be doing something a little different, right? I normally talk about the overall business, but today we're going to be sharing some lessons on my UndocuStartup Bootcamp Tour, given that we just completed that. We had a pitch competition about 2 weeks ago. Now, if you're new here, you don't know what the UndocuStartup Bootcamp Tour was. It was essentially this initiative that I had. I wanted to provide a virtual program for students in California, New York, and Illinois, and Texas. And the whole intention was to make my entrepreneurship program that I get paid for by universities, colleges, make it more accessible and see if there's a need out there for students just outside of California. Now, the main goal was to help them build their business, connect with like-minded entrepreneurs, and make their first dollar all in 5 hours in one day. And my main goal was to get 120 students to sign up. We received 64 signups. Around 40 students actually RSVP'd to be part of the program, and then 5 of them made it to the pitch finals, where we gave $125 in pitch competition prizes. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Maya Hernandez.
Lesson number 1 is that I need to practice and prepare more. I was supposed to live stream this pitch competition, and the day before my computer kept crashing. It was not working. Twitch was not working. I wanted to live stream it on TikTok and on Twitch. It didn't end up working. What I learned from there is that my technology that I currently have is too old for me to do a live stream. So if I want to do a live stream next year, I need to upgrade. That's one of the lessons. And the second one is that I need to practice more. Normally, when I do a program, I practice at least 10 times, rehearsing what I'm about to say, rehearsing how the thing's gonna go. This time I didn't do that. I only practiced 2 times. My excuse is that the following week after this pitch competition, I had another program to think about, but that was just on my part. So I guess the biggest lesson is I need to practice more. I need to prepare more so that in the future, we can get more people on the live stream. We can get more people to find out about this. Although we had 40 signups and 20 people join our pitch competition, it could honestly be way bigger and greater. So that is lesson number 1. All right. Lesson number 2 is that I did cancel a few programs. I canceled 3 programs due to not having enough students. For me, enough students is, do we have at least 5 students for this program? And for 3 of these boot camps, I didn't have enough students, right? So maybe it's due to the marketing. Maybe it's due to me not letting them know to tell their friends. It's really, I would say, is more of a marketing issue. But the way that I ended up solving this was I created another program that was just for any student in any states, because I did receive students from different states. And that brings me to lesson number 3, right? Like, I mainly wanted to focus on New York, Illinois, Texas, but I received students from Maryland. I received students from Nevada, Tennessee, Colorado, Arizona, right? So essentially, what that taught me is that these programs and entrepreneurship is becoming more mainstream within the Undocu student population, given that everything going on with immigration and everything. So there's a big need there. And that ended up giving me more ideas on who to partner up with. It gave me more ideas on how I can expand. It gave me more ideas on like the real demand of this, because I know it's a big issue. So that is lesson number 1. Lesson number 2. So this is a way bigger need that I initially thought. But also at the same time, a lot of people don't know about this. So I need to figure out a way to start marketing this for next year if this is something that I want to do again. Right. The next lesson is that presentations, in terms of marketing, presentations did lead to applicants. Right. If I had a metric that I was tracking up until the boot camps, was how many people are applying. Right. And the only marketing strategy that I had up to this point was maybe post a few content, maybe announce, and maybe do a few flyers, but I didn't like fully dive in. So that's why I'm not mad at us not getting 120 signups. But one thing that did work was doing presentations. So I did a few workshops at universities. Then I announced my program there. Some students signed up through workshops that I did, and that's how they found out about this. At least that's what they told me. So looking into 2026, so if I do want to do this, I want to, maybe I do some info sessions. That is a question that somebody told me. Can you do an info session for students so that they can learn about this? And that got me thinking, right? So essentially, a presentation is sort of like a one-to-many way to market, right? Because the university is recruiting the students and I'm the one presenting. But let's say there's 20 students, about 5, 10 of them end up signing up. It's really going to be a win-win if the goal is to get more signups. So that is lesson number 4. Now, lesson number 5 is that bootstrapping does lead to exhaustion, right? So this bootcamp tour, nobody else funded it but myself. I was the main one funding it, money out of my personal, well, my business bank account, right? So I did lose some money, right? When you're hosting a program, when you're hosting something for the very first time, I am allowing myself to not find smarter, and I'm allowing myself to go through the motion. I need to figure out the back end first. Once I figure out the back end, I can start to think about where can I find funding for this. But I was exhausted, right? The main goal was to do 5 programs, and on top of that, I was doing free workshops, hoping that I could do it all on my own, but it was exhausting. So maybe that also led to me canceling a few of these programs and whatnot. But the lesson here is I can't be bootstrapping this if my main goal is to grow as a company, right? Because right now I'm a for-profit company. I'm not a nonprofit. That's the one thing that I need people to understand, is that we are doing for profit because we do pay all of our speakers, all of our mentors when we bring them on. We want to build the best program possible, and I believe people should be handsomely paid for it, right? So that's the biggest lesson. It leads to exhaustion. If I do it again next year, I don't want to continue bootstrapping this, and I need to find alternative ways to fund this. Next lesson is that we need to market more to reach 100 students, 120 students. Like I mentioned, that's something that I mean, I should have known, right? But again, when I set out to do this event, I didn't have a lot of expectations. I said, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I have about 20,000 followers on my TikTok. Maybe I'll market it there. I'll mention my newsletter, see how many people are interested. And the main goal was not to get the 120. The main goal for me was to go through the motion, figure out how is it going to work? Who can I partner up with? So like for the next time I can improve on that. But to market more, I really just got to double down on content, right? There was a point in time when I was posting 10 posts per week, right? Or 30 posts per week on TikTok. And I need to be at that level. Like that's 120 per month. And if a few of my videos get 10,000, 20,000 views, that's a lot of people looking at this. And then that's how people can find out. So I need to continue doing more content to market. And I also need to continue doing presentations, develop the relationships, start those conversations for next year, because it does take time for people to get to know me. One, it also takes time for people to trust me, as that is the main driver that is going to make this business grow. So that is that. I need to market more next year, and I think we can do it if we can just focus on some key relationships, some key partners, and whatnot. Next lesson is to avoid burnout. I might need to train people. All right. And again, like I mentioned, it was exhausting hosting all of these programs because I hosted it on Saturdays. And on top of that, I was also handling the marketing, the sales for my other programs that I'm doing as part of this bootcamp, right? And the biggest thing that came out of it was like, I wish I just had somebody to do this for me. And they gave me an idea, right? Like maybe I should start just keeping track of like a document that talks about the step-by-step on how to run this, the step-by-step on running office hours. Because for every program, I also had office hours, right? So first week we had the program on a Saturday. Next Saturday we had office hours. Then I would invite them to the pitch finals if I do think they were a good fit. But I don't want to burn out. And I think that's going to be a bottleneck as we're reaching next levels. If we want to help 1,000 students a year, 10,000 students, 100,000 students a year. And that's the main goal, right? That is the main goal. Because I think, and this is something that came up today. Like I was having a feedback session with one of the students that won the pitch competition. She was telling me that the fact that it was live makes this really accessible, and it makes it wanting to be a part of this. And it's really about the brand. I think people are associating, at least within the community, people are associating entrepreneurship with UndocuStartup, which has been my mission, because there's so many other things out there. But in order for me to keep the quality up and continue to help people, I'm going to need to train people. I'm going to need to not burn out, because it does get exhausting, y'all. Like last week, I also did another program. It was a total of like 3-4 hours in person. I was standing a lot. I came back home and I was so exhausted because you just get tired, like telling people, guiding them. So key takeaway here is, again, just creating templates. I mentioned it in previous UndocuStartup weekly episodes, but that is something that I need to focus on for next year. The next one is I should sleep more to avoid mistakes. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I made a mistake of choosing the wrong winner. I made the mistake of not recording the session. I did this bootcamp pitch competition and I did not record the session, which was unfortunate. And like I mentioned, I was also nervous. But the night before, I was really tired. I went to the gym. I slept a little late because I was also thinking about like, okay, how are we going to figure this out? I was trying to get the live stream to work, all these things. I started overthinking a lot, like on things that I shouldn't have overthought, right? But that was the next lesson. So make sure I sleep more. And it ties into lesson number 1, which, we talked about preparing more. The next lesson, and we have about one more after this, but the next lesson is to choose students wisely. Choose students wisely. I saw this in the pitch competition. The students that made it to the pitch competition were the students that I was not forcing them to be a part of this. It was the students that wanted to be there, right? And I mean, it's taken me about 2 years to realize this, but there really is an archetype for an undocu startup entrepreneur. There really is an archetype, right? I think I'm looking for students that, one, they want to be there, not because they're forced to be there. 2, students that take action, right? Like the students that made it to the finals, they already had one client. They did the $1 sale challenge. They were really action oriented. But most importantly, like I mentioned, they need to find out why they are there and why they're building their company. A lot of students don't have that, but it took me 2 years to realize this. But when I was part of other programs, I had to fill out a application process. I had to do an interview. And I never understood. I was like, why are they doing too much on this application? But now I understand it. The people that put in the most effort are going to be the ones that are going to more likely to stay in the program, are the people that want to be there, people that felt like me, that like, it's a privilege to be here. It's an opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of it. And I saw it, right? So looking into next year, even if we get 120 people, 140, 400 people to sign up, I need to be a little bit more selective on the students that end up being a part of the program, because that is going to define what UndocuStartup really stands for, right? I want people to think big. I want people to be there because they want to be there. I don't want to force anybody to go into entrepreneurship. I genuinely just want to work with students that want to be there. They want to build their company. They want to provide jobs for the community. And most importantly, that think big, like UndocuStartup to me means there's no limits. Like I've always mentioned, right? UndocuStartup to me means that we're thinking outside of the norm. We're thinking outside of just independent contracting. And that's the main goal, that we can build apps, that we can build podcasts and monetize, that we can become influencers. We can build these different revenue streams as undocumented people. And we can use that to uplift ourselves first. And then we can uplift other people. But that's really the students that I want to focus on, right? Those are the students that are going to go out there, build the next apps, build the next companies that are going to hire our community and then provide jobs for the US economy, US citizens and all that stuff, right? So there is a specific archetype. I need to just spend some time, look at what makes an UndocuStartup founder, what are some traits, and include that in the next application if we do decide to do this next year. Now the last one, and I touched on this already in the third or the fourth lesson, no, on the fifth lesson, is that we need to monetize this somehow. We need to monetize this, whether that's looking for sponsor client. I mean, whether that's looking for sponsors, we need to figure out a way to monetize this. Because if we can monetize this opens up conversations at other universities. You see, one of the things that I realized, at least from one of the students that made it to the pitch finals, that opened up another conversation. And me posting this on social media, it opened up another conversation in Arizona. So I know this is needed everywhere in the US where there's undocumented students. But if I burn out, it's not going to exist. So I need to get to the point where I can run these programs. Maybe we have an UndocuStartup Bootcamp every single month. Maybe we have one every single week. So we make this accessible And we build this pipeline of UndocuStartup founders, but there's got to be a way to monetize it. Some ideas I have are like sponsorships. I think that's the biggest one. Then maybe I can start charging students, but I don't really want to do that at this point, at least not for a bootcamp. I think that would make more sense more in the future. But yeah, we have to monetize this somehow next year. I don't know how that's going to work, but when I announce it and I start doing this, people are going to, like, think about it, right? Like, why should we monetize it? Well, if we monetize it, the pitch competition, there could be a lot more money on the line, right? Like, we could have a $10,000 pitch competition, maybe $20,000 pitch competition, but we have sponsors, people that back this up. We can also bring in other speakers. Maybe I could bring in an investor. Maybe I could bring in a tax person as part of this program. They can answer all the questions that all these students have, and that's really what they're looking for, right? Or maybe we bring a nonprofit that can help them legalize their business. You see, but all of those things and that version of the program, that version of the bootcamp tour is only gonna come if we have funding. Now, we'll see how it goes next year, but those are just some of the lessons. So let's just kind of quickly run through them, and then we'll do some final words. All right. So lesson number 1: practice and prepare more. Lesson number 2: canceled 3 bootcamps due to not enough students. So I need to market this a little bit more. Lesson number 3 is that this is needed elsewhere outside of California and the states that I had. It's needed everywhere in the US. Lesson number 4 is that presentations lead to applications, so I need to continue doing that next year. Bootstrapping, next lesson is bootstrapping leads to exhaustion. Got to figure out a way to fund this. That leads to the last lesson as well. We need to market more to reach more students, so we need to be everywhere. I'm thinking of ways on how we can market this next year. I need to train people. That's another lesson that we talked about, right? Because I don't want to burn out. There's some days I need a break. I need to sleep more the day before so I can avoid any mistakes. I need to prepare for the next one by figuring out funding. And I also need to choose students wisely. If we want to do this again, we want to do it better, greater. So yeah, those are all the lessons. I think overall it was a success in my books because, again, the goal was to get exposure. The goal was to see how I can handle multiple programs while simultaneously I'm still doing my paid programs, right? And so far, I'm still trying to find that balance. I don't think we'll find that balance anytime soon, but we're going to get better at all of this. All right. So I hope you found this helpful. And if you are interested in being part of the next UndocuStartup Bootcamp Tour, starting this conversation, bringing this to your students, just fill out the quick interest form down below. It's going to be linked in the description. And remember, be motivated and stay motivated. And remember, Entrepreneurship has no limits. I'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Maya Hernandez.